years ago, it was a triumph for UMA. Today, proposed sale is a crisis. We urge the board to rethink this sale based on 3 risks our administration has failed to adequately address. First, the failure of shared governance. The proposal to sell Hanley Hall was developed in isolation, bypassing both faculty experts who understand the building's specialized infrastructure and the students who chose UMA specifically for this facility. Second, the risk to accreditation. The Bachelor of Architecture program is governed by the National Architecture Accrediting Board, which requires us to demonstrate specific physical resources for studio-based education. Relocating without a vetted, code-compliant facility plan jeopardizes the program's standing and UMA's ability to recruit students. Currently, no such plan exists. 3, the loss of sunk capital and civic identity. Hanley Hall represents a massive public investment. The specialized studios and equipment already there would cost far more to replicate elsewhere than any short-term gain from a sale. Moreover, abandoning our presence in the historic Water Street district diminishes UMA's visibility and our commitment to the Augusta community. We request that the board halt the projected sale of Hanley Hall. The administration's rationale for the sale has been a moving target, lacking reliable data, prudent planning, or even a clear why. We are an academic institution, not a real estate developer. Our primary responsibility is to the quality of education and the stability of our accredited programs. We ask the board to uphold its duty of care by ensuring that UMA does not suffer long-term, perhaps irreparable damage from a baffling and opaque decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll go online to see Carol.
Hi, good morning, Board of Trustees. My name is Jessie Carroll, and I'm speaking on behalf of the board of the American Institute of Architects, Maine chapter. We want to formally express our strong support for UMA architecture program and share our concerns regarding its potential relocation. AIA Maine has consistently supported the program with annual financial contributions exceeding $156,000. Since the program received accreditation, our industry has relied heavily on UMA to develop a qualified pool of professionals who wish to live and work in Maine. The program has significantly elevated the status of our profession within the state, with graduates contributing to firms of all sizes. Our limited labor pool has improved, allowing firms to seek local graduates instead of those from out of state. This is during a critical time where our industry and our state is addressing issues like affordable housing and climate change. Hanley Hall has served as a vital hub for connecting students to our professional network. AIA Maine has used the building to host events, exhibits, and board meetings with our student liaison. Our member architects regularly visit to critique student work, take on teaching positions. The latest exhibit was the 207 Home Design Competition, sponsored by AARP, in which students were invited to participate and receive national attention for. It is our professional opinion that dispersing this program across the university campus minimizes its connection to the profession and threatens the accreditation status. Having taught multiple courses during the accreditation process, I understand how rigorous that process was and how pivotal it is to protect the program's current standing. AIA Maine offers this input as a gesture of support to the Board of Trustees. AIA Maine's board is a qualified group of professionals ready to assist the program in any capacity where we can be best utilized. We hope for transparency and inclusion as donors to the program. Thank you.
That's okay, no one can. Thank you. My name is Pete Precourt. I'm a professor of art at UMA, the Faculty Senate President, and a Data Visualization Graduate Certificate Coordinator. I'm here to advocate for a deeply recalibrated relationship between administration and faculty system-wide and a stronger spirit of shared governance. Members of the board and the audience, think back to your own time studying in a university. Who were your trusted advisors and mentors? Who guided your career and wrote your letters of recommendation? Say, vice presidents and vice chancellors. If you write a check to support your alma mater today, is it because of a deep relationship with the system office? My guess is you were supported by professors. Faculty are at the heart of the student experience. So why then are we consistently excluded from critical conversations and treated as a problem to be managed rather than a great asset? This disconnect was laid bare at the recent UMA town hall, where an administrator repeatedly referred to the higher ed industry. This corporate framing fundamentally misrepresents our academic mission. It reduces the university to a transactional factory model, implying students are mere consumers and learning is a commodified product. It reduces a lifelong vocation to an output on a balance sheet. Faculty are treated as obstacles to the bottom line, rather than the lifeblood of the university. Shared governance emphasizes that trust and early input are the pillars of this system. Yet recent UMA actions stand in stark contrast to your own policy. This design studio space for architecture and art with absolutely no plan where these programs will go. Although administration has suggested we move to the Civic Center, where unfortunately a ceiling recently fell on a Maine high school basketball team. These decisions are not stewardship, and they directly harm our students. In this same financial year, the administration found the funds to purchase a new building for administrative offices while currently reducing faculty credit card limits without approval to $1. It's been called a data-driven decision. If shared governance relies on trust, then prioritizing administrative real estate while stripping faculty of basic operational resources is a failure of that governance. Shared governance policy, it states when campus resolution fails, we must ask the board to step in and assist. Consider this my notice. We will likely be asking for your assistance soon. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you stay dry.
Thank you. Online.
Hi, my name is Carter Skemp, and I'm an assistant professor of architecture here at UMA. My colleagues and I are going to talk about various different aspects of it. And today, I would like to talk about how great Hanley Hall is in its current state. These thoughts are not based on sentimentality, but on the reality of what this building provides for our needs. After Hanley Hall was donated to UMA, it was renovated specifically for art and architecture, and it continues to meet our needs extremely well. Architectural education is centered on the studio. As required by accreditation, each student has a desk for the full academic year in the studio, organized by class year. These studios are where our main design courses are taught, and students have access to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to do their work. A good studio has an open floor plan and is filled with natural light so that it is a place students want to spend time in. Hanley Hall studios are excellent and compare well to other accredited architecture programs throughout New England and the United States. Hanley Hall is also very successful at fostering community within a difficult and rigorous program that demands a significant amount of time from students. First through fifth year studios are located close to each other by design. Students are able to see each other's work every day and learn from each other constantly. This intentional layout fosters mentorship and collective learning across the student body. Location in the Water Street District is also a critical component of how and what we teach. 2 full months of my first year fall semester are built around drawing and analyzing the spaces of downtown Augusta, an interesting urban environment all around us. Students have immediate and easy access to architectural spaces that are critical to their development. Hanley Hall is also historically significant. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This designation makes it eligible for grant funding that has not yet been explored. It is a building the university system should be proud to steward. The building also has a very visible presence in the capital city. The sign on the front of the building is seen by 5,000 vehicles entering downtown each day, according to a 2023 study. The sign on the roof is visible to 20,000 vehicles crossing the Kennebec River daily on the Memorial Bridge. For many people traveling through Augusta, Hanley Hall is one of the most prominent representations of our university in the city. Finally, Hanley Hall already contains the infrastructure our programs depend on, including strong fabrication spaces for digital making, woodworking, and other forms of production. This is a setup that has taken years of hard work by staff and faculty, myself included. Hanley Hall is not simply a place where our programs are located. It is a building that actively supports how we teach, how our students learn, and how the university connects to the city around it. I respectfully ask that the board to reconsider the decision to move these programs out of Hanley Hall. Thank you for your time. If you would like to visit and see for yourselves, we would be glad to give you an in-person tour of our programs at Hanley Hall.
Associate Professor of Art History at the University of Augusta, where I've taught since 2019. I teach many art and architecture majors, which has made me keenly aware of the impact that this decision to vacate Hanley is having on our students. As this meeting is occurring during spring break, I worried that you would not hear student concerns regarding the divestment of Hanley Hall, so I offered to bring their voices to you. In what follows, I quote from 4 art and architecture students who have shared their comments. From architecture student CO, quote, "This move has caused many issues for students within the architecture program. When we tried to communicate with administration, were avoided, disregarded, or told it was an inappropriate discussion, even though it alters our entire future. The lack of shared governance and utter disregard for any insight from the people it affects made me feel helpless. Within this program, I have thrived. I'm exactly where I need to be, only to find out the university is gambling with my future. This feeling is beyond frustrating, beyond hopeless. It has made me lose faith in this university. I fear for my next 4 years." From art student JB, quote, "Having a place of our own in Hanley Hall has built such a sense of community amongst us artists, but it also helps put us in community as it's right downtown Augusta. This building gives us all a place to be able to keep our equipment and all of our supplies, and it gives us the ability to go in 24/7. We can get work done as needed. A lot of students do not have enough space to be able to do projects assigned to us without this access." From art student SW, quote, "In my 6 years of study of studio art and art history at UMA, I spent hundreds of hours at Hanley Hall, attending classes and especially working after hours on weekends. I know I'm not alone in this. The space in Hanley is well used. Students are in and out of there all day and frequently after hours as well, working in painting, drawing, printmaking, and other media." And I'll add for myself, architecture students at all hours as well. SW continues, "Central Maine is full of art kids who found a sense of belonging in the art room. They have ambitions to be art teachers, art therapists, graphic designers, video game designers, animators, photographers, and museum curators, and they need the facilities and tools to get there." Lastly, from art student NR, quote, "As students in art and architecture programs, we feel our education has been diminished by the blatant favoritism toward other fields such as nursing and cybersecurity. Such an example is the repurposing of the building on Marketplace Drive in Augusta. I understand such a space was needed to fulfill the needs of the students that are here for those specific programs. But again, I ask, what about us? Instead of finding ways to improve the studio environment that is vital to our education or being moved to a better quality location, we are being kicked to the curb. I came to UMA so that I didn't have to leave my family or drown in debt attending a school I could not afford to pursue what I'm passionate about. What makes UMA great is that I'm surrounded by people who I can connect with. I grew up in Augusta. I would never have known that there was an artist community here if I hadn't gone to UMA. I ask you, members of the Board of Trustees, help us. Show us that UMA is still a place where we are valued and celebrated. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will go to Eric Stark.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Eric Stark, and I am a professor of architecture at UMA, where I have taught since 2005. Until fall 2024, I served as the program coordinator for UMA's Bachelor of Architecture, leading it through 6 accreditation visits. I'm here to talk about the unexpected decision to leave Hanley Hall, the problematic process involved, and the lack of planning endangering the program's continuing accreditation. In the summer of 2025, while on sabbatical, and after being informed, not consulted, about the planned move, I met with President Cushman to better understand the decision-making process. During our conversation, I asked several questions that revealed the decision was made without input from key stakeholders. In fact, none of the individuals involved in creating, managing, or supporting the program were ever consulted, as this administration made the unilateral decision to move the program from the building that made it possible. Before the decision was made, had former President Allison Hanley, who championed the donation and for whom the building is named, been informed? No. Had Roger Richmond, the founder of the architecture program and who donated $100,000 to support it, at the time the largest cash gift in UMA's history, been notified that the gallery bearing his name would be lost? No. And perhaps most importantly for the program's future success, had any potential accreditation consequences been considered? No. I believe it is crucial for you, the Board of Trustees, to understand the accreditation process as it illustrates what is at stake. Architectural accreditation happens in 3 major stages. The first is eligibility. In 2010, the gift of Hanley Hall was the key factor that enabled UMA to pursue a professional architecture program. The university and the UMaine system then invested over $1 million in renovations to create specialized spaces for architectural education. The second stage is initial accreditation. After years of preparation, an accreditation team spent days on campus reviewing everything: curriculum, faculty qualifications, student work, governance, and facilities. Most recently, in 2022, we hosted a visit for continuing accreditation. The outcome was exceptional. We received a perfect score, meeting every required standard. Fewer than 5% of schools achieve this, placing UMA alongside institutions with much larger budgets, faculties, and facilities. Moving forward, according to accrediting rules, any significant change to an accredited program must receive prior approval from the accrediting board. This requires planning. Yet what we are witnessing now reveals a worrying lack of planning. The effect is already clear. Applications have declined since last year, and I know potential students who decided not to apply because they no longer trust the program's stability. Risking everything due to poor planning and poor communication reflects not leadership, but a profound lack of vision. Out of respect for the years of work invested in building this program, the university's significant investment, and the opportunity it provides Maine students, I believe it is my responsibility to raise these concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. And Patrick Hansford.
My name is Patrick Hansford. I'm an assistant professor of architecture, and I'm the architect at the University of Maine at Augusta. I haven't spent the last 30 years in the classroom teaching English or math, but rather I'm a practicing architect licensed in 6 states, including Maine. I have over 40 years of professional experience, and I transitioned by practice to the academy 7 years ago. During my career, I've worked on a variety of state and federally funded projects, including higher education. Prior to starting my own practice in 1994, I was the senior project architect for one of the largest design firms in the country. The Maine Historical Preservation Commission has reviewed my education and experience and determined I meet the stringent professional qualifications required by the Secretary of the Interior to be included on the state of Maine's consultant list for historic architecture. This means I'm distinctly qualified to work on buildings listed on the National Register, such as Hanley Hall. When I was provided the opportunity to review the administration's construction cost report, based on my decades of experience developing construction budgets, it immediately did not pass the smell test. Since my time is limited, I'll only address several items. Remember that Hanley Hall was fully renovated 15 years ago, including modern fire sprinkler, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing systems. The administration's report states, quote, complex fire-rated construction and enlargement of the electrical utility room, unquote, is required at the cost of $1,875,000. The International Code Council and the National Electrical Code does not require electrical rooms to be fire-rated. I confirmed this with the International Code Council. This room could be enlarged and the cost would be minimal. Based on a design I prepared, it would take several weeks to complete and the probable cost would be under $15,000. That's less than 1% of the cost stated by the administration. The administration's report states that hazardous materials such as lead and asbestos needs to be abated at a cost of $1,125,000. Any hazardous materials would have been abated when Hanley Hall was renovated 15 years ago. Furthermore, the EPA's renovation, repair, and painting rule was in effect prior to the renovation of Hanley Hall. However, the rule only applies to commercial buildings fitting the description, quote, a child-occupied facility. This cost seems fictional. In my review with a roofing expert with extensive experience with higher education projects, the cost to re-roof Hanley Hall would be, at the high end, $40 a square foot for a total of $140. That's 44% less than the cost stated in the administration's report. So this leads one to ask, what accounts for the administration's vastly inflated financial projections? Happy to answer any questions, and I hope you'll come visit us at Hanley Hall.
Thank you very much. And I should have made clear that when we listen to public comment, we do just that and don't ask questions, even though, because we'd be here for 4.5 days. But thank you. Joanna Shaw.
Thank you. My name is Joanna Shaw. I sit on the board of AIA Maine, our state chapter of the American Institute of Architects. And I'm speaking with regard to the value of the University of Maine architecture program as it exists today. I have been chair of the AIA Emerging Professionals Committee for over 6 years, partnering to create early career support for many graduates of this architecture program. I'm a principal of Winkleman Architecture, an architecture practice founded in Maine, and have worked with and mentored graduates of the University of Maine architecture program. On behalf of my peers, we are asking for transparency in the process of relocation to support the students holding shared equity in their educational path. We're asking you to respect the students and faculty as individuals who are giving their greatest effort to seek and provide education, and to be shown that this board, this university values and supports the emotional well-being of its students and faculty, that education when sought can be relied upon. The students I have come to know are industrious and committed to their career path. They have built success in our state with the strength of relationships built in Hanley Hall. Fostering this community relies on a cohesive network of studios where curiosity, exploration, and the production of iterative work can be witnessed and shared with peers. On Thursday, I spent time with students in Hanley Hall, attending their midterm reviews. While I sat in the second floor level common area, I witnessed the way this space, this intertwined network of studios, allows the students to connect and to support each other. This network is elemental in their success. Architecture as a profession is not isolated. It is rooted in community and collaboration. This you may know, but why do the students not know where and how this vital component of their education will continue? Why do students and professionals, residents of the state of Maine, who have historically felt assurance in the University of Maine as a catalyst for our local economy, now feel uncertain about the capacity and commitment of this program? We look forward to learning about the detailed vision to support this program and to maintain a space which fosters connectivity. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you all for your comments. We don't have a proposal before us regarding Hanley Hall, but we very much appreciate your input. And we also have our faculty representatives at the table here, Professor Surratt.
Brief remarks. First, I want to thank my colleagues for showing during their spring break to advocate for their programs, colleagues, and especially for their students. I've personally witnessed the incredible amount of effort, research, and communication they've done on the issue of Hanley Hall over the past several months. I do want to take this opportunity to make one editorial comment in support of my colleagues. I believe there can be a misunderstanding among those in the public that buildings, classrooms, and spaces aren't necessarily important to teaching and learning. The closure of a building is strictly a financial or facilities decision, not an academic one. But nothing could be further from the truth, particularly for programs like art and architecture here at UMA, in which their building, Hanley Hall, is critical and deeply connected to faculty excellence in teaching and research, and most importantly, the overall student experience. Thank you for considering the points of view presented today related to Hanley Hall.
Interesting comments from all. With that, though, we will take a quick break. Lunch is here, and reconvene in half an hour, if we can do that. Again, I thank you all for your patience in waiting for us. 1-minute warning. Where's Greg? Could everybody reconvene, please? Hello? We're going to start naming names. Okay, great. Welcome back. Great lunch as usual. I want to open by thanking President Cushman for a great afternoon yesterday. We had a wonderful cyber tour and an incredible dinner, and I can't believe we ate again today, but we did. So it was great. Thank you very, very much. And with that, we turn to President Cushman for the remainder of the UMA presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity to highlight exciting effort that UMA is undertaking. As part of our mission to serve all populations, UMA has a long history of engaging in distance learning and innovative educational technologies, and now leveraging artificial intelligence and extended reality is strongly embedded in our newly revised strategic plan. Yesterday, we were happy to host the trustees in our new Capital Center for Nursing and Cybersecurity Workforce Development so that you could see some of the things we're doing in immersive technologies, which include extended reality and an immersion room. To introduce this follow-up presentation on emerging technologies is our provost, Joe Zikas.
Afternoon, folks, and thank you, President Cushman, and thank you, members of the Board of Trustees and everyone else for being here today. So as UMA started to work on our next 5-year strategic plan in 2024, we began to ask what's next and how can we continue to improve distance education and the student experience. To answer those questions, UMA set up 3 initiatives, one on AI, one on student transfer, and a third on neurodiversity. We, like everyone else in the University of Maine system, have been working hard, investing in and exploring AI. Generative AI is a transformative general purpose technology on par with the invention of electricity or the internet, poised to fundamentally reshape industries and higher ed while impacting jobs and reskilling demands for the workforce as a whole. From our distance education origins over 30 years ago, from beaming courses via microwaves and satellites, VHS, DVDs, Panoptic, Kaltura, Zoom, UMA has embraced technology as a vehicle and an enabler for improved access and greater opportunity for students across Maine and beyond. So while exploring AI, we saw extended reality and virtual reality, XR and VR, as maturing and opportunities and solutions began to emerge. I'll also just say, and with great thanks, the solid and fruitful conversations UMA has had with the University of Maine and their XR VR efforts with the VEMI Lab and the Maine College of Engineering and Computing. We've been sharing experiences and we are growing more knowledgeable together. Our noble goal is to deliver every program to every student regardless of location. That goal is tough by all means, and many would argue that's insurmountable. But with AI and VR and XR, we see possibilities beginning to emerge. And so through this integration, we see a strong alignment with our neurodiversity efforts in partnership with Landmark College to provide a path towards a more inclusive approach on how we teach and how our students will learn. So how are we working on this? So combined with our own internal resources, support from the system, and we're fortunate that UMA received a $400,000 Davis Educational Foundation grant to help integrate AI and VR into our curriculum. Some of you have had a chance yesterday to see our immersion room at the Capital Center, which is one of our key components of our UMA's VR and XR strategy. So before I finish, I want to thank everyone who helped assemble this presentation about UMA's embrace of cutting-edge technology. This is no small feat, and it truly takes a village to assemble such a demo. So fingers crossed. So I'd like now to introduce BJ Kitchen, our Executive Director of Academic Services, to kick off our presentation. So thank you.
Well, Joe asked me to speak about pedagogical advantages in AI, VR, XR. And we'll see how good I do. There'll be a quiz at the end. And so hopefully I teach well. So good afternoon, Board of Trustees and guests. I'm BJ Kitchen, the Executive Director of Academic Services here at the University of Maine, Augusta. I chair our AI committee, and I also serve on our Title II core group, which is part of my presentation today too. I want to spend a few minutes on the pedagogical value of AI, VR, and XR, and why the Faculty Institute is such an important setting for that conversation. My perspective comes from work at the intersection of instructional design, AI, faculty support, and Title II accessibility, where questions of access, inclusion, and usability are necessarily part of the work every day. I also want to acknowledge that these technologies bring real concerns with them. From ethics and academic integrity, to labor, to privacy, to environmental impact and bias. Those concerns matter. My focus today, though, is on a more specific question. What do these tools make possible for teaching and learning when they are used with care, clarity, and purpose? So AI. I'm using it here refers to the digital tools that can generate, analyze, or respond to information in ways that support teaching and learning. Used thoughtfully, these tools can expand feedback, tailor support, and help faculty and students engage more actively with ideas, language, and problem solving. AI is not the goal. It is a tool, and its value depends on whether it strengthens learning. One of the central questions is whether AI is substituting for the cognitive works students need to do, or augmenting the work by helping them do it better. When AI reduces the student's productive struggle too much, it can weaken learning. On the other hand, when it is used to guide, scaffold, and prompt reflection, it can support stronger self-regulated learning and problem solving. In many of our courses here at UMA, and I'm sure at our other sister institutions, timely feedback is one of the biggest pressure points. It takes time to provide feedback. AI can help support more frequent, formative feedback when the feedback is grounded in clear criteria and rubrics. It can help students test their understanding, improve their drafts, or work through practice questions with immediate explanations. It can also support differentiation by creating multiple scaffold entry points into the same learning outcome. A student who needs a simpler explanation, another example, a practice scenario, or help unpacking directions may be able to get that support more readily. AI can also create more room for higher order learning. If a tool can generate a summary or a first pass response, then the opportunity shifts. We can ask students not just to produce something, but to evaluate it, to verify it, to refine it, and explain their thinking, improving metacognition. And there is a workforce and literacy dimension. Our students will encounter AI in the workplace and in everyday life, whether we foreground it in our courses or we don't. So an important question is this: what is the student supposed to know, do, or become more capable of because of this activity? And that brings me to VR. Excellent. Few terms, virtual reality or VR, using that here as to describe fully immersive digital environments, typically accessed through head-mounted displays or headsets. I'm going to add in a couple more to help flesh out XR. Augmented reality or AR is digital overlays, right, on physical environments. Mixed reality, environments where digital and physical objects interact dynamically. And of course, we're using XR here, or extended reality, as an umbrella term encompassing all of the above: VR, AR, MR. So VR XR is especially powerful when students need structured, learn by doing experiences. They let students move beyond reading and watching and into more direct interaction with a concept, an environment, or a process. Their strongest educational value is not novelty. It is the opportunity for structured, active, repeatable practice, especially when learning depends on sequence, judgment, spatial awareness, decision-making, empathy, or performance in context. The early evidence here is promising. According to a 2023 aviation maintenance study conducted with Southern Illinois University students, learners trained in VR perform 76% of real-world steps more correctly, compared with 68% for those trained by instructional video alone. That example is promising because many of these things we teach are not just about understanding information. They're also about applying knowledge in context. At UMA, we can already see the relevance of that across applied, technical, health, and workforce-oriented learning, including nursing, aircraft maintenance, aviation, cybersecurity, and emerging uses supported through the collaboratory. That is also why our new Igloo Immersion Room, which some of you I think saw yesterday, in the Capitol Center, is important. It supports shared observation, instructor-guided interpretation, and discussion across programs. There is also evidence that immersive learning can improve attention and readiness. More broadly, immersive learning can help because it moves students from watching and listening to applying and doing. So when we think about VR, XR at UMA, the real question is not whether students will find them engaging. They probably will. They're kind of neat. The important question is whether the experience gives students meaningful practice, focused attention, guided reflection, and a stronger path from simulation to real-world performance. And that is what makes the Faculty Institute such a fitting next step in the conversation. It gives us a place to move from possibility to practice, and from technology itself to the learning it is meant to support. For those who may not know it, the Faculty Institute is a long-standing professional development gathering centered here at UMA that brings faculty, staff, and partners together around teaching and learning from across the university main system. This year's theme is Teaching with Humanity. This theme asks us to lead with empathy, foster inclusion, and design with purpose in an increasingly technology-rich academic reality. That is exactly the right frame for talking about AI and immersive learning. For UMA, that means bringing work already happening across applied, professional, and interdisciplinary areas into broad teaching and learning conversations. The Institute gives us a place to move from isolated experimentation to shared practice around course design, assessment, accessibility, student support, and faculty development. This year marks 35 years of the Faculty Institute. That's pretty cool. In that time, we have benefited from valued support from partners across the university main system, including the Chancellor's Office. This year, UMA is proud to sponsor the Institute in full, while continuing to welcome faculty and staff colleagues from across the university main system, Maine, and beyond. UMA has long been a leader in distance education, beginning with interactive television in 1989. I'm not sure of the math, Joe, but I think it's more than 30 years. And evolving into today's hybrid, synchronous, online, and high-flex learning environments. So while much of this talk focuses on classroom use, we should remember that these tools also offer important opportunities to strengthen distance learning. One more piece feels especially important. Faculty Institute highlights accessibility from the outset, including sessions on using AI to create accessible content and learning activities, and support the new Title II digital accessibility requirements. That matters because moving accessibility beyond compliance language into day-to-day teaching practice is critical. So in closing, if I were to sum this up, I would say this. AI offers pedagogical value when it helps us expand feedback, differentiate support, and make student thinking and learning more visible. VR, XR offers pedagogical value when they give students structured, well-designed opportunities to practice, reflect, apply what they know, and build confidence. And the Faculty Institute gives us the right setting for that conversation because it's grounded in something larger, teaching with humanity, inclusion, purpose, and thoughtful use of technology across the university main system. So the goal, is to use these tools in ways that strengthen teaching and expand access, support diverse and neurodiverse learners, and better prepare students for the work they are moving toward. The question is, do these tools help our students become more able to do, understand, and contribute? If we keep that question at the center, UMA will not just respond to change. We will help shape it with clarity, access, and humanity. Before I conclude, to model what I'm speaking, the role AI played in this speech. I used AI in the way I would want students and faculty to use it. As a support for my thinking, my drafting, my revising, not as a substitute for my judgment. It helped me clarify and refine the speech, but I was responsible for the ideas, the sources, and the final version, which I think I changed quite a few times. So, thank you, and I would like to introduce our next speaker. So that moves us into VR/XR demonstrations, and to help us with that, we have UMA Aircraft Maintenance Technician School using VR to train students with simulations. Our presenter, who's in Brunswick, Dave Glidden, Aircraft Maintenance Technician School Assistant Program Manager. And in the role of student during the presentation in the VR headset is Kim Snyder, Administrative Specialist. Welcome, Dave. I'm turning it over to you. We don't hear. Hold on, Dave.
It's virtual.
So this is when we'll do the quiz. We still don't hear you. You hear us? Still can't hear you. Let's hear something.
There we go.
There we go.
How about that?
All right, Dave, thanks.
Apparently one of these microphones is not happy. All right. Anyway, here we are back. That's not helpful now, is it? I lost my screen. Let's close that. All right. Let's try. Try this again.
It's good to know that the early days of AI and virtual reality is
We
a
can
lot
hear
like
your
the
screen.
early days of Zoom.
Okay. Pause that for a minute. All right. I hope we're back on track now. So basically, I'm Dave Glidden. I'm down here in Brunswick, part of the aviation maintenance training program. We're going to talk about the VR that we're using down here. We have VR headsets that are issued to students as part of their tuition. So what that means is every semester, we have the most current VR headsets available. So they never become obsolete. So this is a recording of 3 of our students participating in the VR. Using Manage XR, we can actually manage all the headsets at the same time, or we can focus in on one student in particular. And there are roughly 85 different modules that they can participate in. As you can hear, every module does a coach in the background.
Want to give me a hand? I'll walk you through everything you need to know. Today, you'll be handling the tow bar. We've got
So basically what he does is he walks you through, telling you all the important facts that you need to know as you go through. And you do it with him. And then you run through it again on your own. If you have any issues along the way, you hesitate, he'll speak up and prompt you as to what the next step is. But since it's supposed to be a solo experience, you lose points if he has to keep prompting you to continue onward. It's a bronze medal, silver medal, gold medal, so there's no actual score given. Using these headsets, and the students take them home, we can reach people all across the country. They can participate as a class or as an individual, and the instructors through ManageXR can actually see what's happening in the headsets, so they can guide individual students through their experience. If they're having difficulty running the headset, we can talk them through it. If there's any new software we want to upload, we can do that as well. As a fleet, we can do the entire group of headsets. And these are mainly designed to supplement what we're already doing hands-on in the labs. A student will get the experience without the costs associated with materials. If a student was going to weld, for instance, there's some liability issues as well. But using VR, they can repeat the process as many times as they need to without using up materials and without any kind of a danger associated with it. They can do it over and over again until they've mastered it. There's also documentation that comes along with it. Tests, lesson plans, just so that to enforce, or not enforce, but so the student understands what they're going through, what they just experienced. With our headsets, they're all geared towards the maintenance side of aviation. But with these particular headsets, there is a ton of other genres, if you will, nursing, automotive, hospitality. So this kind of program can be used in all kinds of different systems. Each one of these modules is about 15 minutes long, so it's not a real long class. With ours in particular, we have airframe, power plant, and general, which tie directly into the courses that we're currently teaching. A one-for-one, if you will. I can see these headsets possibly replacing Zoom as a way of communicating with the students, possibly in conjunction with the immersion room that you guys have up there in Augusta. I can see a instructor in the immersion room, students all watching from all sides, and that will be his classroom. And right now, I guess I talked really fast. Mariah and Dr. Gilmet are actually up there with you, and they have one of our headsets. So if you guys want to give it a try, you're more than welcome to. And you can obviously reach out to me if you have any questions, or if you'd like to come by and visit us down here at the hangar. I think a couple of you, I've met a few of you at one of our events recently. And you're welcome to come down and give it a try. And I think that's what I have for you. So I believe I'm going to hand it back to BJ.
Yeah, thank you, David. David, appreciate all of that.
All right.
And so let's move us forward. If I could get the slides back up on the screen. There we are. So we're going to be moving into a demonstration of VR XR simulations to prepare students for practicum and enhance workforce skills. We talked with the aircraft maintenance technician school, and now we're going to move into the aviation flight school. From our UMA Aviation Flight School, Greg Jolder, aviation program coordinator, will discuss the role of XR, VR, AI, and immersive 360-degree views in pilot instruction. Greg.
Gosh, it's good to see a lot of you from yesterday. It was a great event, wasn't it? Pretty cool, especially that immersion room. But I gotta love that. Last summer, I was presented the FAA Master Pilot Award. Now, I say that because it represents 50 years of safe and violent-free flying. And during that time, I've flown and instructed folks in aircraft at 60 knots to flying faster than the speed of sound. So I've learned a thing or two at that point. And I'm up here now to show you some of the things that we do in the aviation program. And by the way, all the AI in this comes from here. And a poor sleep score, by the way, because I thought I redid this all last night. So we've got about 6 to 7 minutes to discuss what I said. And as I thought about this more, I think BJ has some good comments on it, but I think that a carefully curated use of the technologies that are available become a force multiplier for safe and effective training that incorporates stewardship and value added. You're going to hear stewardship and value added woven throughout the tapestry of this talk. So let's get started. How can I put that in your context? In your context, anybody that has done any kind of training or driver instruction with a student knows that there's a lot to teach somebody when you put them in a car, especially for the first time that they have the keys on their own. You want it back, right? You want it back in one piece, and you want them back. So you're very careful on how you do this. So one of the things that I thought about that I'd bring to you was you're all going to get on some highway at some point today or tomorrow, whenever it's going to be. And you think about the entrance to that highway. And you think about the on-ramp. And then you think about how I would teach the student that's next to me or my kid. How does this have to look? He'd have to look to the left. He'd have to look to the right. He'd have to look ahead. Be careful. You can't stop. You've got to keep going here because we could get killed. So what do? How can we augment that training with this? We might be able to use a computerized simulator. Well, if you have a computer screen, he's not going to, or she's not going to be able to look around. So you can put him in VR. And so now they have the 360 view. And if you experience the room yesterday, you clearly saw the 360 view in the airplane because my colleague Greg showed you what it's like to look over that wing, what it's like to look over that wing. It's very similar inside the goggles. All right, so now that's where the virtual reality comes into this point. And I am now going to ask you to extend that, humor me a little bit, with two examples that I have in our program. The first one is Jack. So I flew with Jack before Christmas, and he was having trouble landing. So he had failed the flight, and he failed my flight on landings. So we have embraced virtual reality training. We have a VR lab that some of you saw the picture of yesterday. It's a home-built thing that I built at home, but it works. So I took Jack, and we put Jack into the VR for a couple of flights before Christmas. Then we came back after Christmas. Jack's relaxed. I put him in VR again. And I'm watching him. All we did was traffic patterns and landings, and just going up and down, just like you go on the on-ramp, off the off-ramp, on the on-ramp, off the off-ramp. Just practice that, but it was in virtual reality. I'm looking, and he's got the first one. He's got the second one. He's got the third one, and I'm watching his progress on the screen. And after about 8 or 9, I said, God, this kid's got it. So we had the plane, went into the plane, and I sit in the right seat, he sits in the left, and we take off. And he takes off, his traffic pattern is perfect, he's got all the energy management, all the safety features that I want to see while he's flying. Rolls the thing on. Then on the takeoff, on the second one, I'm thinking, Jolda, you just saw this movie, and you know how it ends. So after 4 landings for what he needed to do, I stepped out, and he soloed.
That's the power of this stuff. That is, well, sorry, I got to get my, that's stewardship in the management of his flight training. Because we stewarded his time. I didn't put him in the plane and make him do it over and over at $400 an hour. We did it in VR for significantly cheaper. And then I had the opportunity to go and look at my international student. She's from Korea. So she was having some issues, and let me think about how I want to transition to this. Okay, so we looked at extra visualization training, which means you chair fly. You know, you sit down with the student, okay, look at this, here's what you're looking, here's where your eyes are, and that's how you do it. And then we put her in virtual reality. We put her in simulators. She's got a significant amount of simulated time. She's got 15 hours in the plane. So we look for somebody to solo at 20, because that's kind of a mark. But so we have to be very careful about what we did. So in addition to using VR, we brought in AI. AI took a look at her last flight, her aircraft data, and it said, okay, she needs to work on this, and vetted by the instructor, work on this. Here are your objectives for the next flight. Here are the terms that you're going to use, and the instructor has a copy of her lesson plan, the student has a copy of the lesson plan, and it's in Korean. Translated to Korean, value added. So I bet you we're gonna get Lily to solo in about 10 more hours, probably 25 if you look at it total. She's gonna have a lot of VR time, she's gonna have a lot of simulator time, a lot of visualization time, but she ain't gonna have a $50,000 bill. Stewardship and value added. So we set the fees for the program at 20 hours to solo, 35 hours for the total, and that's far less, folks, than average 60 to 70 hours in general aviation. And we're doing it. We've got records to prove it. So we're succeeding above all odds. And the retention for our private pilots is 80%. The general aviation, 30. So do the math. That's it. That's all the people. That's all we have. Folks, this is individualized student-centered training. When you put the student as the objective, under the auspices of stewardship and value added, it works. Now to the picture on the slide. This simulator is quality that's the best on the market. It's coming out, it's brand new. We know the developers and we know the owners of the company. It's the fidelity and motion are that of a multi-million-dollar sim that airlines use. And remember, when airlines use these sims, the trained captain or the trained first officer, his first flight in an airplane, he's got passengers in the back. So that's the power of this. This sim is going to have virtual reality inside, so that it's all, the visual is all around. We can put extra traffic in there. We can impose any kind of situation that we want in the student. So that 50 hours, 50 probably going to even come down. So we can put extra training in there. We can teach the kids how to behave, how to get in an airplane if it gets into trouble, because they need to have all that, how to do energy management. All right, so how are we doing? 26, we have 14 confirmed, 30 more pending, over 200 inquiries last year. And a third, one student want to come to Maine because you're flying the Cirrus. It's a high value, safe aircraft. Well, let's look at our graduates. We had 97 active, and in the 23, we had 2, 24, we had 8, 25, 7, and this year we've got 10. So everything is going in the right way. It's all about stewardship and value added. Thanks to our partners at Management Flight. Support this vision because they added 4 more airplanes like we have, and they bought 2 more on the market. And by the way, they didn't have to do this, but every tail of that plane has our logo on it. Their airplanes. Provost Akins and Dean Mack for their unfailing support. And I know it's been tough, so Joe, thank you very much for your support in this aviation program. To our instructors and students for their unending commitment to training, safety, and flight training. We know that of what we do, and we are darn good at it. Thank you very much.
And Joe, we had scheduled a half an hour for this. We've gone over a bit. Can we?
I'm just saying goodbye.
Oh, congratulations. Thank you very much.
I'm just saying goodbye. All I'm here to say is looking forward.
No, go ahead.
We are expanding these efforts through the ongoing development of the immersion room, broader XR and VR. Ultimately, this work reflects UMA's commitment to innovation, accessibility, and workforce impact for the state of Maine. Thank you for the opportunity to share it.
Thank you. Amazing stuff. That's great. Let's move to President's Round Robin, and I'll start with President McDonald.
Well, thank you. The UMF campus, we are celebrating March Madness in basketball. It's been a great season for us. Both our men and our women's team won the North Atlantic Conference, which was a terrific victory for them. And the thing that made me happiest was that all our students come from Maine. These were Maine kids who were playing. And then they get to go to the NCAA, where you find out that there's a larger world out there than the North Atlantic Conference. Our men did get through the first round and did a great job. And our women got to play the #1 seed, a team that has not lost, I think, for years. And it is I guess I've described it as a D1 team masquerading as a D3 team. So Nate Carson, our coach, who is about 6'6", he said to me, he says, "You'd be amazed that these women are all my size." So it was a great time for the university. I'd also like to say, we've had a number of very interesting speakers come to campus. Edward Watson came, spoke about AI, and Dr. John Hagan, who is the president of our Climate Commons, came just last week. And he gave a talk to our science students, a full group in the auditorium, the science of when science doesn't matter. And he said, that kind of upsets science students. So he said, and he added to it, and what we can do about it. He goes, because he was talking about his experience as an ecologist in the unorganized territory in northern Maine, and working with the forestry industry and with the environmentalists. And what he said is that, in science, we learn that, really science is the source of truth. He says, but to be socially significant, science must be married with the art of persuasion and the importance of interpersonal relations to develop trust. So this is just a wonderful combination of really science and the humanities, and it speaks to the value of in-person programs in a residential campus that helps students develop the interpersonal skills, not just the science skills, but the interpersonal skills. And so it was a wonderful talk, and I only hoping that all of the faculty at the university were there to hear it. So let me end it there. So thank you.
Thank you. President Rice.
I'm honored to note that we were the runner-up team in men's basketball to Joe's team. So, but it was a very pleasant visit down to Farmington. It was great having. I think it was the first time in history that there were two University of Maine system teams that were vying for the championship in the North Atlantic Conference. So. Just a couple quick things about numbers. Really proud. We're looking at 1,541 graduates this year at the University of Maine at Presque Isle. Just to put that in context, if I had been saying this 5 years ago, we probably would have had 200 graduates. So that's an incredible increase. 538 of which are marching. So Trustee Flood will have to shake a lot of hands when he comes up. Sorry, you will not have to shake the hands. I do. And 94 of them are receiving graduate degrees this year. So just some great numbers and context to show how we're not just enrolling students, but they're getting through to graduation and really making changes in their lives and their futures. On the research side, a number of faculty doing some really cool stuff in the last several months. I just want to underscore Dr. Chunzhen Wang, who just got a paper published in the Geological Society of America Bulletin, which he says is one of the premier geoscience journals in the world. But that's interesting because it's on his work on Pennington Mountain, where the rare earth element deposits were discovered. So his work there continues to reverberate and be recognized, and we'll see where all of that takes us in the coming years. And then a couple more culturally connected things. We were really lucky to have Mel Allen as a distinguished lecturer that came last month, the retired longtime editor of Yankee Magazine. He was incredibly compelling to about 100 people that saw him up at our campus center. In the stories he told, focusing on Maine and particularly Aroostook County, because he spent so much time up at the county. He was also generous with his time signing books, signed one to my kid, to my relatives in Florida saying, see, this is where you guys should be in Maine, and one to the chancellor where I think he said nice things about the University of Maine at Presque Isle in those notes. The last thing I'll mention is I was at another board meeting Thursday and Friday last week, got back just in time Friday evening for a performance of Hamlet. It was Shakespeare and Company, drove 9 hours from Lenox, Massachusetts through the winter weather, and they very much enjoyed that. But just it was great to see 200 people inside of our auditorium really enjoying the Bard's work all these hundreds of years later. And just having people stand up and applaud. My kid was sitting next to us hissing at Claudius all the way through the play, so that was great to see. And then, of course, followed up with my wife and I watched Hamnet the next night, so one of us cried for about an hour through that movie. And again, a shout out to Jessie Buckley, whose performance was so remarkable in that movie. If you are fortunate to watch those two things, to see Hamlet and then Hamnet, Hamnet will reorient your viewing and appreciation of Hamlet in a way I think that Shakespeare would very much appreciate in this 21st century. So anyways.
Thank you. President Softly. Beat that.
I don't even know how to comment on the Shakespearean review that we have just had on top of the winning basketball teams. I will tell you that Bill and I tried to watch Hamnet. I got sobbing midway through and gave it up. So that's there's my Shakespearean experience for the weekend. While my colleagues were following the competition in basketball, the students at Maine Law were engaged in national competition in the moot court programs, where you do not have to be 6'4", you just have to be really excellent at persuasion. And I am happy to tell you that the University of Maine School of Law team at the Bryant Moore Civil Rights Moot Court competition at Howard University in DC not only made it to the Final Four, they won the award for Best Brief in the whole competition, and Maine Law won the Best Petitioner's Brief at the McGehee National Civil Rights Competition organized by Mitchell Hamlin Law. So 6'4", maybe not, but great writers. And Maine Law is doing, as you know, with all of your support, is doing so well that the applications have surged. And our presentation of affordable excellence at an incredible community is really working well. We have over 300 applicants are now on our waiting list at Maine Law. So if you're hearing from people that their children, their students are not getting admitted, we're in a really wonderful but terrible situation for some of these great students. I I also should note that the clinics are growing. The Business and Law Clinic is off to a great start, and we have received a CDS with the wonderful help of President Farini Mundy's staff, who are just fabulous, helped us receive a brand-new award for a criminal justice clinic, which we will begin to populate in the fall and start up for real in January, just about a year from now, which will be a huge help to the state of Maine. And finally, I'm really excited to report that our advancement program is thriving with the help of our new team led by Director Nicole Vinal, joined by Sarah Whitfield and Rob Pareca. And you may have seen our announcement that we received our largest gift ever from the estate of Dr. Ed David, a 1987 graduate of Maine Law. Some of you, well, people who are thank you, I appreciate that. People who are as experienced as I am will remember Dr. David. He was a legislative assistant on healthcare policy to Congressman John Baldacci, and he was chair of the Maine Board of Licensure in Medicine for 18 years. He was the doctor who trained and handled the human remains detection dogs, really making it a science in the state of Maine. He was a passionate mentor and educator in forensic science, and we're grateful to him for his supporting the next generation of Maine lawyers. And finally, with thanks to our new advancement team and to President Deb Hedin, we held our first alumni gathering at the Fort Kent Can-Am event last month, which was incredibly exciting. It was a terrific opportunity for many current and former Maine law students to celebrate both winter and the practice of law in Aroostook County. Thank you, President Hedin.
Good collaboration. Stakes are high. President Farini Mundy.
I know, and I had left off any athletic news because I knew it wouldn't match, but it does. So I'm ad-libbing here to put in a bit about athletics, and that is we've had great seasons in a number of our sports, with men's ice hockey and women's basketball getting quite far in their conference play. And so my husband and I made the trip, and it turns out there is no real way to get from Orono to Burlington, which we discovered. But we made that trip last week, and great play by Vermont, and we did not win. However, our pep band, I think, perhaps may have won. They were fantastic. They were really energetic and energized, and the students in the UVM pep band, which was also very good, were dancing and swaying and acting out YMCA when that came up. So really good inter-university collaboration, at least between the bands, and a fine game. Great atmosphere at UVM. In my prepared remarks, however, just very briefly, I'd like to say that we continue to enact what it means to be a learner-centered R1 in a variety of ways, but in particular through some of the modernization and new capital work going on the campus. The GEM building is ahead of schedule now, and so we expect that to have something of an opening in the summer, but that building has been designed from the beginning to be focused both on student learning and on advancing research together. Those ideas are integrated in the building, and so we're very excited about showing that off. The same with SAWIC, which is the Sustainable Aquaculture Workforce Innovation Center. And in the beginning planning now that is going on for the $45 million congressionally directed spending award that will come in for a health and life sciences complex, with great gratitude to Senator Susan Collins for her leadership in bringing that to Maine. That will be designed in this same way. Learner-centered, R1, what does it mean to build something that has both of those considerations intertwined throughout? We also are seeing excellent success and great records by our students, and I wanted to highlight a few. The university athletics department has had a number of strong GPA findings in the past few months, but I wanted to highlight field hockey, whose 3.89 GPA is the highest among D1 field hockey institutions. And that's a first, so that's a big deal, and they are very proud, rightly, and should be. We also had an alum mentioned in the Forbes 30 under 30 list, Morgan Stosic, who got her PhD in psychology from UMaine in 2023. was listed recently there in the transportation and aerospace category. She works for NASA at the Johnson Space Center, and she uses behavioral psychology to study and improve human performance in space. And her work will influence the design of next generation spacesuits. So we're very proud of the incredible performance of our students and the things that they go on to do when they leave us. And then finally, we continue, of course, to have deep commitment to our statewide impact in many different ways. And I wanted to just mention a couple of things there. One is the great work done by an undergraduate honors college senior who wrote his a class project, and that turned into a public-facing map that he has developed to model, or not to model, but to actually show the state's evolving policy and regulation context around PFAS. So it's a visualization essentially so that you can see what is changing and what is happening as the state of Maine tries to work on this very important problem. So it's legislative actions, it's regulation, it's a great tool. And then the last thing is a collaboration with UMaine Farmington and the nonprofit organization Maine Youth Thriving. So our College of Education and Human Development's Rural Educator Resilience Project, which is also supported by congressionally directed spending secured by Senators Collins and King. Together, we hosted more than 100 early career educators at their Thrive Foundation's retreat to continue to strengthen the state's ability to work in early childhood education.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to begin with a couple of academic program updates. This spring, we will graduate the first cohort from UMA's Aviation Maintenance Technology Program, which you saw a demo of. 12 students will complete the program in May. That's our first cohort. The program spans 5 semesters. This cohort began fall 24, and we are already seeing promising results. 5 students who have taken their FAA airframe certification exams have passed, giving us a 100% pass rate among those who have tested so far. The FAA airframe certification qualifies technicians to inspect, maintain, and repair aircraft structures and systems, which is a critical credential for careers in the aviation industry. We're also launching a new Bachelor of Science in Medical Laboratory Science in partnership with the University of Maine at Presque Isle. This joint program builds on our medical laboratory technology pathway and provides the next step for MLT graduates who want to advance in their careers. Each institution can enroll 24 students, and we're introducing the program to the market now with plans to welcome the first students this fall. The program directly supports critical workforce needs in Maine's healthcare system, helping hospitals and laboratories address shortages of qualified medical laboratory scientists who play a vital role in diagnosing and monitoring diseases. Secondly, I'm excited to share progress on a project that will expand residential opportunities for our students. The groundbreaking for UMA's new 60-bed residence hall will take place on April 16th at 10 a.m. in Stevens Commons in Hallowell. The building will be named Margaret C. Morrill Hall in honor of Margaret C. Morrill, who graduated from the University of Maine in 1944 and was the first woman to earn a civil engineering degree from the university. The name was chosen by our development partner, Massway Development, from whom UMA leases our residence halls. And finally, I will add to the athletic reports. Both our men's and women's basketball teams had outstanding seasons this year. The men finished 7th in the USCAA National Tournament, while the women earned an impressive 3rd place national finish. As part of the USCAA National Championships, each qualifying school may enter a participant in the 3-point shooting contest. And this year, Bella Petrocchi of Schenectady, New York, won the competition, making the first time a UMA student athlete has claimed this honor. Over the past 5 years, we've significantly expanded enrollment through athletics. As our teams have grown, we've seen a 342% increase in student athletes, underscoring the important role that athletics plays in recruitment and campus engagement. And we expect to continue growing. And in fact, we were recently granted exploratory status with the NCAA, another step in strengthening our athletic program.
Thank you.
Nice to have an opportunity to share some highlights from UMFK. So UMFK has had some recent pride points that I'd like to share with you. On February 5th, the Fort Kent Community High School presented UMFK with the 2026 Community Partner Award during their assembly for our collaborative work and our early college course offerings. Then the next night, On February 6th, the Greater Fort Kent Area Chamber of Commerce presented UMFK with the 2025 Community Partner Award at their annual meeting and dinner. So we had a really exciting week to be recognized for our work, and I would like to give a special thank you to the faculty, staff, and students for creating a welcoming community partnership that is highly valued in our community of Fort Kent and the surrounding area. Our baseball team, let's talk about sports. Our baseball team, remember, we have a baseball team. They're in Florida right now. Smart place to be. They're playing in the Russ Matt Invitational this week, and then this coming weekend they'll be in Boston playing Fisher College. So there are warmer places to play baseball. I also recently learned that our track and field team has had a number of practice sessions at UMaine because they have a lovely indoor track. And again, up in Fort Kent, we have a lot of snow. And so I would like to thank UMaine for partnering with us so that our athletes have an opportunity to participate in an indoor facility. So thank you, President Farini Mundi, for partnering with us and making that possible for our university. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, President Edmondson. Last but not least.
Thank you so much, and I'll continue the athletic trend of just bragging a little bit on our athletic programs. So our student athletes continue to represent USM with distinction in the Little East Conference, demonstrating the values of Division III athletics, which involves competing at a high level while maintaining strong academic performance. So this past weekend, USM's women's basketball team advanced to the NCAA Sweet 16 after winning the LEC championship and the first round competition in the NCAA. We had two wrestlers advance to the NCAA competition. One of them, Jake Craig, placed 4th nationally for his weight class, and he is a 3-time All-American champ. And finally, our women's indoor track and field team won the LEC championship for the 6th consecutive year. We had 2 track and field athletes advance to the NCAA finals, and one of them, Zoe Barnes, won the shot put national title. She's the 3rd woman in USM history to win a national title, so we're really quite proud of her. We have 279 student athletes who have earned a 3.0 GPA or higher, giving them distinction as a WISE scholar. That's the largest number of honorees in the 37-year history of this program. And so our athletes are really doing so well both in their competitions and in the classrooms. In the first semester of this academic year, Husky Athletics achieved a collective 3.269 GPA. 54 student athletes earned a perfect 4.0, and that is just not just impressive, but also a testament to focus, perseverance, and a culture that prioritizes academic achievement. And so I'm deeply appreciative to our new athletic director, John Sutiak, for leading a team of staff and coach to focus on athletics as well as the competition that the students participate in. Beyond the classroom, USM continues to play an important role as an intellectual and cultural hub for Southern Maine. Through initiatives like the USM for American Democracy and other campus events, we're creating space for thoughtful dialogue and civic engagement, bringing students, faculty, and community members together around issues that matter to our state and nation. Our final event for the Forum on American Democracy this year is on March 25th at 5 p.m. in Hannaford Hall, and it is planned by and features 7 students who joined me as scholars this year. Their focus will draw on key points that Raj Vinakota shared with us in the fall: humanization, sharing stories, treating people as people. The second is seeking common ground and goals, and the third is teaching and practicing civil skills and discourse. I know that the students asked to have a table on the stage at Hannaford Hall because they like that metaphor, coming to the table, and so that's what they'll be focused on. And then 2 weeks ago, I was invited along with Dr. Kyle Nielsen to share our story at USM of becoming the 250th All-Steinway School at the Steinway Conference in New York City. We were one of 2 universities invited to speak. The second one was UNLV. And it was a great opportunity to connect nationwide and to hear stories about how the Steinways are part of not only music programs, but also science programs and health programs and so many others. And finally, we recently renewed and strengthened our partnership with UIT, the Arctic University in Tromsø, Norway. This builds on more than 8 years of work together, and our focus is on student and faculty exchange and shared research. So thank you for your continued partnership and your support.
Thank you. Great. These are always fascinating. We now turn to our student representatives, and before we do so, we should point out that we had a wonderful discussion led by Trustee Worth about better engagement of our student representatives. And you'll be hearing from us to sort of sit with you and chat about how we can make sure your voice is heard more at the table. So we'll plan time soon to have that conversation. But in the meantime, we have a new student rep. President
Yeah,
Dean.
so I'd like to introduce you to Jada Lee James. So Jada Lee, raise your hand over there nice and high so everybody sees you. Jada Lee is our new student representative to the Board of Trustees. She is a sophomore in nursing at UMFK. And originally, she is from St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. Jada Lee brings a global perspective to campus and is passionate about fostering an inclusive and supportive student community. She is actively involved across campus, serving as a resident assistant, a Bengal executive, and a member of the Student Activities Board. Now, you might think that that's all she's doing, but there's more to come. In addition to her academic and leadership commitments, Jada Lee is a student athlete on the university's track and field team. So that's how I learned about that from the car ride down, that she, tomorrow I'm dropping her off at UMaine so she can go to the next practice session with her team. She competes in sprints and long jump. Through her involvement, she demonstrates dedication, teamwork, and a strong commitment to both personal and community growth. Jada Lee is passionate about leadership, service, and creating meaningful connections, and she is honored and is committed to advocating for student voices and strengthening communication between students and university leadership. And just one more piece I'd like to add into this is 2 Friday evenings ago, the students hosted a lovely event called Threads of the World. And one of the topics or one of the activities that happened during this event was called Step, Slide, and Vibe. And that Jada Lee is quite the dancer. And so she was out there spinning, sliding, stepping, and having a great time as a student leader on our campus. So welcome, Jada Lee.
You were afraid she was going to ask you to demonstrate, weren't you?
Well, I would. She would do a fabulous job right down here, right back and forth for you, Jada Lee.
Well, let me officially read the resolution that the Board of Trustees approves the appointment of the student representative to the Board of Trustees as presented. Is there a motion? Moved by Trustee Martin, seconded by Trustee Macon. All those in favor? All those opposed? Welcome, Jada Lee. Jada Lee.
Hey, can I vote?
Is she on?
Can I vote?
It's all right. Okay. All right.
Trish, can I vote?
Sorry, we missed Barbara on that vote, but I think, I knew she'd vote with us. It would have been fun. Let me move to tab 3, which is the 2028 Board and Committee meeting calendar. And with that note that we understand that you are all here, presidents and faculty, on the first day of spring break. So we thank you very much. This is how I'd want to spend my break. But we have the calendar before you. We've made an effort to try to eliminate as many conflicts as possible. Any questions or comments on the calendar? Seeing none, that the Board of Trustees approves the Board of Trustees meeting calendar for 2028 as presented. Moved by Trustee Johnson, seconded by Trustee Martin. All those in favor? All those opposed? Trustee Alexander?
Yes, thank you.
You heard that. That was virtual. She's the next item too, so we may be. Sorry, folks. Barbara, would you vote in favor of the new student rep?
Yes, I will.
Yes. Great, we definitely heard that with affirmation. Great. and on the board calendar.
Yes.
Thank you. And can we turn to you now for redlined board policies?
Yes, you can. Thank you very much. You have before you a number of redlined proposed changes to board policies in the 300 group. I will alert you that we are not exactly completing our work in that area. There are a couple of items in this area that need further work and coordination with some policies in the 600 range. But these are now here for your consideration on first reading, so that I will quickly review them. And then at the next board meeting, we will handle any input or questions or concerns that we hear from board or other interested parties. The first one is an elimination of board policy 307. We are assured by our system leadership staff that this question that gives rise to this policy is no longer asked or relevant. And that became clear after COVID. Tab 4.2 is an amendment to board section 308 accreditation policy. In this document, we eliminated, we eliminated some language about the submission of the Unified Accreditation Policy to the New England Commission for Higher Education, or NECHI, and replaced it with the subsequent action that occurred that authorized the implementation of this policy and added some language describing its status in our work. Board Policy 4.3 is organization and establishment of major units. As many of you know, we're trying to draw a better line between material that comes to us for votes at the board versus those that we feel comfortable with having this done at a system level rather than a board level. So we have some language here that is intended to make clear that what the board approves in this reorganization process is having to do with major university units, and that the lesser type of internal reorganization within units is now to be notified to the chancellor, but not needed to be brought to the board. The next item is section 311, intra-system student exchange. And here we're making reference to the Unified Catalog Initiative to make clear that there has been some obvious reform and improvement in this area. And our policies are intending to record that development. Section 312, university professor. The only change here is to add a reference to the law school.
Great. Thank you, Trustee Alexander. This is again in the first reading. So at the May meeting, we'll get the actual red lines, but take a look to make sure that if there's any questions, get back to the policy committee. But again, I thank all of you for this work. It's grueling, but really important to get up to date, because heaven forbid that we something like the law school out. Okay, thank you. Let me turn to Trustee Eames for the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chair Riley. I move for the Board of Trustees to approve the consent agenda items. Acceptance of the minutes and an item from the February 11th, 2026 FFT committee material. The consent agenda items are tabs 5, the acceptance of minutes, and tab 6, level 3 direct current first chargers land lease authorization, UMPI and UMFK, which you can find in the meeting materials. May I have a second?
Seconded by trustee Martin.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Yeah, and Barbara?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. The motion carries.
Great. Let me, Janet, we were planning to have a more appropriate celebration in May because we have the sad news of trustee Eames' term expiring. And she's away in May for a very long planned event. So I just want to take a minute. She's been an extraordinary member for 9 years. I remember my first meeting when you were my mentor, and it was just a great way to get to know what the world of the trustee is. She's been a wonderful vice chair, and I think she's just an exemplar of the kind of commitment that people make, especially somebody with a job that she had and made the kind of commitment and contribution to this University of Maine system. And I just want to say hooray and thank you. And there'll be a present, but it will have to be later. Okay.
It has been my honor and privilege to serve the last 9 years with all of you. I'm feeling really good about the trajectory of the system, and I've enjoyed my time. I will miss all of you, and if you need anything, just call. My other office does, so you guys can too.
And we will. Thank you.
Okay, Chancellor. Yes. A bunch of interesting things, good things. As we look at the summer and fall population, we now stand at 2,878 students who are actively matriculated, and that's our best guide to where we are going in. I'll just tell you that that's over 1,000 additional students over the 2023 number at the exact same time. So we're doing something right, and getting people to make commitments to us, and we should be very happy with that. I want to touch on the great team of people. We have wonderful presidents who can talk about their campuses and who guide their campuses, and we should be very, very proud of the work that they are collectively doing and that their students are doing. Joan, your basketball player, didn't she get best in the league? She won. Yeah, yeah. She was. We'd give her a shout out too, right? All right.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah. And we're also happy to have these wonderful vice chancellors who do so much work on a day-to-day basis. And it's nice to work in an organization where all of our presidents and all our vice chancellors, and usually me, we're pulling in the same direction. So we should celebrate that. That doesn't necessarily always exist in perpetuity, but it has been going pretty well for us as well. I also would say that we are happy that we're getting into the second half of the semester after the vacations are over. Our students and maybe faculty will come back a little bit more rested and ready to go, and we'll sprint to the end of the semester, and obviously look forward to graduations, which are always a high point at all of our universities, and so we should be very happy with that. We are doing extraordinary work. Our universities are looking at programs that they believe will attract more students and allow us to continue the upward path that we've been following for some number of years now with respect to the number of students being educated within our system. Great faculty are leaving us because they retire, and great faculty are anxious to join us because of the work that is being done at our collection of university. If you look at the credentials of people who are being hired, it is really quite remarkable. And we are, again, moving in the right direction. It's good to work with all of the trustees, all of the folks around this table. Hopefully, we'll give a louder voice to the students in the future. And want to thank our student trustee for the work that he's done around that particular issue as well. All in all, we're pulling in the same direction. We're making real progress. You can't make everyone happy on the same day, but we have more happy people than we've had in a long time.
I like that you keep the sports analogy with the spring.
There you go.
Great, thank you. Questions for the chancellor? Okay, let us.
Can I just clarify that
Oh,
Addie
yes,
Smith, among other nominations and things, won America East Player of the Year.
American East Player of the Year, that's not bad. That's great, that's great. Congratulations to her.
I was happy to see her play 3 different times this year.
And we turn to John Ferry Mundy, Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation.
Great. So just a quick update in 4 different areas. I'd like to say a little bit about some of the new federal initiatives that are now coming out and that we're gearing up in order to address. Some great wins in congressionally directed spending in fiscal year 26, and then a bit more about our UMS research ecosystem, a term coined by a USM faculty member, Lisa Goryanova, who has been a wonderful member of our Vice Chancellor's research leaders group. In any case, the federal government now in fiscal year 26 and we think looking into 27 is beginning to have its research agenda, its funding agendas more clarified. And there are a couple of areas that I just wanted to highlight because the system is doing good work here. One is Workforce Pell, where we are looking, Vice Chancellor Jeff St. John and I co-chair a task force that is taking a look at how possible and when it might be possible for our students to access Workforce Pell. We're collaborating with the Department of Education in the state of Maine, with the Maine Community College System, and with the State Workforce Board to figure out how we can access these dollars. And that's exciting work. Another, on a kind of different dimension, the Department of Energy, U.S. Department of Energy, has launched something called the Genesis mission, which is very roughly titled AI for Science. And there's tremendous activity happening there, a list of 26 different challenges that energy has put forward that span the fields of science and engineering, AI, and a number of other areas, starting to think about the workforce for the future of science in an AI context, and held a summit that a couple of us attended earlier this semester. So those are just 2 examples now. We're putting energy toward looking at what the government is putting forward and figuring out how we can fit. We have also had a very, very wonderful year. Very grateful to Senator Collins for her leadership, along with Senator King, Congresswoman Pingree, and Congressman Golden, bringing in $61.3 million in fiscal year 26 across the entire system, with very strong emphasis on the workforce. This chart goes into more detail about exactly what those projects are and what the amounts are and the bills in which they sit, which then from that you have agencies within those, and those are beginning to land, meaning the agencies are getting in touch, looking for the proposals that need to be written to finalize those awards, and that'll all happen in the coming months. But very exciting. There is a strong workforce focus, as well as a focus on the economy of the state of Maine and the preservation of the heritage of the state of Maine. So I'll just run very quickly through these projects one by one. Maine Law, you've already heard from Dean and President Softly a little bit about this, for a pilot criminal justice clinic, again important in serving the state. University of Maine at Fort Kent has a computer training facility that will come on board for computer science and computer systems administration students' preparation to enable them to enter these important careers. It'll be a working lab. Similarly, at UMaine Farmington, we have a new set of renovations happening in the Healthcare Training Center. That's about being able to to partner with local hospitals and healthcare providers to serve the state with a workforce that's ready to go. At Presque Isle, a project to expand critical health profession programs in exercise science, medical lab technology, nursing, and physical therapist assistant, to buy equipment that will enable people to train on the most modern materials. At the University of Maine at Machias, this project is about renovation of the Reynolds Center to create a dedicated space for early college students and for their support there. At University of Maine, actually, this is at the Maine College of Engineering and Computing, so this will span UMaine and the University of Southern Maine. It's about modernizing laboratories in order for our students to be able to work in the most cutting-edge kinds of settings so that they're able to enter the workforce ready to go. At UMaine also, two awards that have to do with a forest health facility that serves as our spruce bloodworm processing lab. This will allow them to purchase, in addition to some accelerated purchase of equipments and temperature controls and so forth, a new walk-in freezer and industrial fume hoods, because this work involves actually taking and keeping samples of these spruce budworms and studying them later over time. The blue economy is so important for the state of Maine. There's a $5 million earmark for the Darling Marine Center that will help us expand the Gulf of Maine Ocean Observing System, which is real-time data collection for researchers, fisheries, and daily users, as well as expanding the American Lobster Settlement Index, which is a project that monitors the health and abundance of juvenile American lobsters, and it's been going on for some time. So pleased that we'll be able to keep that work going for the state of Maine. Also very excited about this award to further the work of the New England Indigenous Archaeology and Heritage Science Center, the work of Dr. Bonnie Newsom at UMaine. This is part of a Northeast consortium of universities, and it will enable record digitization in this center, and so very much appreciated. All of these are career focused. We have also, I've already mentioned the earmark in health and life sciences, which will be among our growing set of learner-centered R1 facilities that will be available system-wide for a variety of ways of educating the next and future workforces in these areas. The VCRI Research Leaders Group continues to do their work on moving forward with our strategic plan, and they have activity in all of these 4 areas, as we've discussed before. And I'm going to turn to President Cushman to tell us just a little about one of those areas of work, the UMA portfolio.
Thank you for the opportunity to highlight UMA's research program. UMA is seeing more and more faculty engaging in research, especially applied research. And this is all coordinated by our Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Pam McRae, who I'd asked to come to the podium, who represents UMA on the VCRI working group. She helps lead some of our research initiatives too, and I invite her to present our activities.
Thank you very much. Thank you for a few minutes to celebrate the work of our great faculty and our programs here at UMA and where they're excelling in applied research and their scholarship of practice, supporting workforce development in many fields, including some of those that are presented on the screen. We'll start with UMA's cybersecurity program. They have multiple ongoing research projects focusing on cyber training, protecting critical infrastructure sectors, and supporting cybersecure smart manufacturing. Our recent funding includes the Maine Economic Improvement Fund, the National Institute of Standards of Technology's RAMP program, our the Congressional Directed Spending, which supported the renovation of the Capitol Center cyber range. Many of you had the opportunity last evening to see a simulated cyber attack in our new space at the Capitol Center. UMA's nursing program, they offer and emphasize a holistic nursing education model. We have award-winning nursing faculty. They've been engaged in numerous national conferences, have numerous publications in peer-reviewed and high-tiered journals. They've contributed also significantly to the congressional directed funding. They had, which supported the significant Capitol Center renovation, including their simulation labs, their medical supply rooms, the VR immersion room, which we had a chance to talk about earlier. And the great thing about that room is that we had the opportunity to really see some cross-curricular collaboration there. as in last night, where a lot of you had the opportunity to see the flight simulation. Of course, Greg won't be able to do as much justice to that as Greg did earlier today, but certainly we can see just one more picture on the screen associated with the integration of that virtual reality and the flight training, resulting in that authentic flight simulation, the reduced hours, the saving of funding from the students, and they're really emphasizing their learn, do, fly philosophy. Love to celebrate UMA's architecture program, recently invited again this year to be a part of the Envision Resilience program. This is a collaborative project associated with numerous universities focused on designing sustainable and adaptive developments. Undergraduate students and their research are at the core of this collaborative project, which includes universities such as Cornell and the University of Michigan, among others. We've had great success here at UMA incorporating our research learning experiences into existing undergraduate general education, as well as program required classes, integrating them in online asynchronous, distance synchronous, and high flex, as well as in-person modalities. We're excited to be, again, part of the main IMBRI, or the Biomedical Research Excellence Network. We have numerous faculty currently that have applications in for the MEF funding, NIH grants. We recently were awarded funding through the Davis Family Foundation to support our reentry efforts on our prison education program. And we have numerous faculty looking and seeking and already collaborating with many faculty across the system. UMA seeks to further and develop our culture of research across our institution, including more fully integrated research in our teaching, broadening our range of disciplinary faculty engaged in research and scholarship, and increasing our externally funded projects. I appreciate the support by Vice Chancellor Findy Mundy associated with our work on the research and working group and all of the work that Jason Charlin's office has done to support us in our funding opportunities. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Pam. And just to conclude, I would like to pick up on a theme that Pam mentioned and that has been a big part of our research leaders group discussion over the last few years, and that is the engagement of undergraduates in research. That's a theme that does distinguish our system because we're effectively doing that across the entire set of institutions here. And a part of what enables that is the Harold Alfond Foundation funded UMS Transforms project and its very specific focus on research learning experiences. And so you may have seen this headline from the University of Maine at Farmington, but I wanted to point it out. This is what happens when students can become engaged in undergraduate research experiences early. And at Farmington, since we launched the RLEs in 22-23, UMaine Farmington has tripled the student participation, going from 131 students in 12 courses to 465 students across 25 courses. That's extraordinary, and it exemplifies what it means to use the engagement in research as a way to retain students, to help them succeed, and to help them find great career paths. So I think things are in a healthy state relative to research across the system. Thanks so much for your time.
Great. Questions? It's extraordinary to see this kind of help from our congressional delegation and the critical dollars that support so much. Much of it's one time, which really helps with upgrades in those labs and so forth, but some of it isn't. And like the law clinic, and how do we think about that, and how do we plan that? And is that in the long-term budget projections? How long will $1 million, for example, take on a clinic?
So the pilot project for the new criminal justice clinic is a 3-year pilot. We will do the same thing with that pilot that we are doing, for example, with the business and law clinic. It'll be supported by the dollars that come in federally at this point, and over the 3 years, we will build the ENG budget to be ready to pick it up as it goes forward.
So you have a glide path.
Yes.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? Can we do that? And because we've got a ton of material to get through and actions to take, so why don't we take a quick break? 2-minute warning. That's not, is it? Two-minute warning. Vice Chancellor Lowe is always so exciting. We had to take a break to be fully ready for this next presentation. None.
You are on, sir.
So I'm actually going to start with investment income, so ignore that for just a second. So information on the investment pools is in your board materials as always. I'll start with the managed investment pool. The managed investment pool has a market value of $418 million, saw a gain of 1.9% for the month. It is up 7.1% fiscal year to date. We do estimate that it gained an additional 1% in February, but has lost 2.5% just a week into March. Really, really difficult March affecting all of these numbers that I tell you, so take them all with a grain of salt. The pension fund had a January market value of $15.6 million. It saw a gain of 0.9% for the month of January. It is up 3.5% fiscal year to date. We estimated that it gained an additional 1% in February, but suffered a 1.6% loss in just the first week of March. The operating fund has a January market value of $322 million. It saw a gain of 1% for the month. It is up 5% fiscal year to date. This results in a net of fees return of $8.7 million fiscal year to date through the end of January. That exceeds our $2.8 million annual budget by $5.9 million. Having said that, we saw estimates in February are that we returned a positive 0.6%, but we expect we gave back at least that much through the first couple of weeks in March. So more to come with all of those numbers. Certainly trending positive from where we are now. Next, I'm going to shift to the budget forecast. So I'll take that screenshot back up again. So again, as a quick reminder, we do budget forecast 3 times a year. So the original budget, if you're seeing, we start with the campuses down the left side. The budget column is exactly that. That's the budget that was passed last May by the trustees. And then we update that in November, in February, and we'll update it one more time before the close of the fiscal year. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly at a high level, but certainly happy to answer any questions. So I'll start with the University of Maine and work my way down through the list. My notes here. So for the University of Maine, again, just as a quick reminder, the campus was originally projecting about a $2.1 million deficit, was going to resolve that through a transfer from reserves in the original budget. And we saw in November that gap grew substantially, up to $7 million. President Jenny and others have been working that number as well as the FY27 budget and talking about the FY28 budget all at the same time through a lot of really difficult and a lot of good work. They've got that gap now back down to about where it started, 2.1 million. Did that through a combination of initiatives, the biggest one being compensation and benefit savings through attrition that they've been able to realize, reassessing financial aid dollars based on enrollment numbers, and then really looking at eligible expenses and external funding, looking for opportunities there where we might be able to free up E&G dollars. So really, really solid work on the part of the university there. Auxiliary is staying about the same. We go down to UMA. For UMA, kind of a tale of two funds, if you will. So on the E&G side, originally forecasting a modest deficit there and have continued on that trend. So a really solid work on the E&G side. The auxiliary side is challenging. The auxiliary side is challenging for, you're going to see that trend through all of our smaller campuses. In the case of UMA, you see a gap that was originally in the 255, growing to 308.
and now almost tripling in this forecast up to 837,000 for the current fiscal year. That's driven by a couple of factors. We heard in some budget presentations, some preliminary budget presentations last week, that there is lower than expected enrollment in the two hotel options in Augusta as well as in Bangor, and that's contributing to that auxiliary gap, as well as some Sodexo staffing issues that led to some increased costs. So those are what's driving that. If we could swing back to the left side again, thank you. At UMF, you know, we referred to, I think we've referred to at least the E&G side as a little bit of a transition year. I think we were expecting that Farmington would be in about that $600,000 gap for the fiscal year. That is about where we're seeing them track on that side. On the auxiliary side, they're back to being on budget there, which gives you that gap of a little over 600,000 that we'll continue to try to whittle down before we get to the end of the fiscal year. Thank you. For UMFK, really positive here. If you could skip just slightly a little bit to the, there you go, thank you. So again, for UMFK, a little bit like we were talking about with UMA, a positive overall, a positive narrative here. The E&G side is looking really good. Forecasting now a seven-figure surplus. Never happened in my time here in a conversation about Fort Kent budget. But a little bit of a challenging side on the auxiliary side. You can see a gap that is roughly offsetting almost all of that, but still a positive outcome on the far right. At Presque Isle, so a couple things going on in Presque Isle. So certainly on the E&G side, very positive, originally forecasting a surplus almost approaching 4 million. And we are backing that down to something closer to 3 million now as we look. Your pace is just growing so fast, keeping up with the staffing costs. And so the campus is constantly reassessing staffing needs. They put some processes in place, but that's where you see a little bit of an erosion of that E&G surplus, but still really strong. On the auxiliary side, again, it's consistent with what we talked about at Farmington, what we talked about at Fort Kent, which is some challenges on the auxiliary side. You see a gap that was about 1.4 million in November. It's down a little bit, so about 162,000 of positive change. We heard from all of these campuses, we did hear some of the steps that they're taking on the auxiliary side to address this in FY27. And so I know you'll all be tuned into our budget presentations later this month to hear a little bit more about what the campuses are doing on the auxiliary side, specifically Presque Isle is dropping down to 2 residence halls from 3. And you'll see things like that as we roll forward. At USM, looking at just the E&G piece, again, positive movement there. The campus was originally forecasting an E&G deficit. They just about eliminated most of that through their November forecast, and another positive $400,000 change here has them projecting potentially a modest surplus by the time we get to the end of the fiscal year. We'll see how that plays out. And then on the auxiliary side, essentially back down to a balanced budget on the auxiliary side. And then finally, or at least finally for the campuses, and then I'll touch on the system. At Maine Law, I will say that Maine Law, it looks like a reduction. It looks like it was going from a $275,000 surplus down to 19. I would say they're still tracking. Maine Law, a lot of their fundraising dollars sit in E&G until they know they're going to balance their budget. I think they feel strong that they see the path to the balanced budget, and so those funds have shifted over to the foundation, and that's the difference that you see there, not any erosion of credit hours or anything like that. So those are the individual campuses. You can see in general, most of the campuses are roughly holding their own. We're up about 4.5 million there. 5 million of that was the change at Orna. Underneath the campus totals, we have governance, university services allocated, and university services unallocated. What I would offer there is you should just ignore all of those. And so I say that for a couple of reasons. One is that we typically for governance, for university services and university service unallocated, several of these are things like, adult degree completion, system initiatives where we have a reserve, and so we don't budget the full amount because we want to transfer reserves over from previous years. So that's driving some of that. There are other things like, the initiative around AI is a good example. We're funding a lot of those initiatives right now just from our regular dollars, and then we transfer over the money that the chancellor had as part of his plan at year end. And hopefully, if we can absorb that, then we won't have to transfer that over, and those funds will be available. So those lines will get cleaned up as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year. Specifically on the university services unallocated line, the reason why that number looks so positive is because it includes the next line down, which is unrestricted investment income. You can see, as I said in my last presentation, we're running about $6 million ahead there. That is a definition of a roller coaster right there, what's going on in the markets right now, today, the last 5 days, last month. So we're certainly not going to count any of those resources. It looks like maybe February and March, hopefully we'll just wash and we'll be in about the same place when we get to April, but it's really, really difficult spot to predict. So that is the budget forecast. Next on my list is the budget schedule. I think I've got a graphic for that. Here we go. Fortunately, I can't read it. So let me talk a little bit about the budget schedule as I filibuster while I bring it up. Here we go. Yeah. Really excited to talk about the budget timeline. I love the budget process. Love the way we do this and structure this. So we have a year-long process. We started back in the fall, early summer. The campuses have been doing lots and lots of budget hearings, meetings on campuses. All of those kind of culminate up through February when those budget presentations come into our office. We spent a few weeks pulling those together, working with the campuses, and held budget presentations, a first round, if you will, an internal review of those budgets last week on March 9th and 10th. So I want to thank the chair and the FFT chair, chancellor and others for joining us. Thought the campuses did a spectacular job. We gave them some good feedback, and we'll see revised versions of those presentations, as you'll see here on the schedule, on March 25th at FFT. I'm going to pause right there for a second and throw it to my FFT chair, and then I'll come back to the schedule.
Well, I just want to highlight one day. First of all, I think it's clear why we all have such great confidence in our Vice Chancellor. We're in great hands. We are in great hands with respect to our budget planning, as we always are. And I just want to thank Ryan for the incredible work he does in his part-time job now that he is devoting most of his time to AI. So thank you. March 25th, please mark that date in your calendars if you can possibly get away for part of it. That's going to be the day-long presentation of the budget, campus by campus, to the full FFT committee. If you're on the FFT committee, hope you'll be there. If you're not, hope you'll be there as well. And if you can't be there, it's going to be on our university, the system YouTube after that. But big day, it's really our best chance to ask questions, to probe, to suggest perhaps. Our major chance to impact around the edges, if you will, details of the budget is March 25th. So hope to see you then. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, excellent.
And can I add, because I think we know how hard this is and how hard you and Miriam and others work, but I think it's also, we get the opportunity, Roger and I, to sit at the early stages of this, early stages for public presentation. And I think we can't overestimate how challenging this work is. Balancing these budgets is hard work, and it requires really, really tough decisions on every campus. So when we see it, it's a beautiful thing, and we can understand, really how it works. But it is really heartening and tough to watch how these budgets get formed, the kinds of decisions that have to be made on campuses that are being made, and the kinds of leadership to just keep this place balanced and at the same time investing in what works. And I just want to applaud all the presidents because those presentations are tough and we're not kind. We ask very blunt questions in those discussions, and the presidents are always, as well as the vice chancellor and staff, at the ready to answer them. And it's quite an experience. And I just think by the time we see it on the 25th, it will have changed from what it was. And it will reflect unbelievable hours and creative juggling and balancing acts to get us where we are.
Just a great comment. I think all of these, all the whole steps all the way through the process from the first draft that it comes up with, and then the various sessions that take place on campus, this session, the one in March, all end up with a better product the more times we review it.
Just want to add that a couple of campuses will have additional challenges like Farmington and USM. The success of their sports teams means more travel to conference championships, and they're gonna find that money. I'm sure they will.
So that'll be all day on March 5th. That's 9 to 5. Again, I always put in the plug that if you can't make it, as the chair mentioned, it's on YouTube. See me, I can give you a really good prompt. You can put it into Gemini, put the YouTube video, and then have it extract all the Presque Isle information or all the USM information. There's a great way to leverage AI to extract information that you're specifically looking for out of those presentations. So happy to help anyone along that way. From there, we will go to an April 15th FFT work session. So that'll be a little different than our traditional exciting FFT meeting. This will just be budget. And so we have created a list of questions that have come up so far. We've had lots of questions about online versus on campus, and so we're gonna pull up some more additional information. We'll present that on the 15th. The 15th, I'll also go through the full system budget. I'll go through shared services. That's when we'll do that part. It's really the committee's chance to ask any questions that they want. So again, hope you'll take advantage of that opportunity as well. All of that rolls into a FFT meeting a couple of weeks later on the 29th, it looks like, where we hope we'll get a strong committee vote, and then we'll come back to the full Board of Trustees at your May. Maybe that's the 18th, maybe that's the 19th, but sometime in late to mid-May, we'll be back for a full committee vote. Happy to answer any questions about the budget timeline. Okay. So last item I have was an update on AI. Make sure I got the right document. Generative AI Services RFP that is out on the streets right now. I'm going to be intentionally high level because that is an active RFP out on the streets now, though happy to have any side conversations if anyone wants. The RFP emphasizes a few things: privacy, security, accessibility, intellectual property, institutional control, as well as things around data retention, training on our data, FERPA, and a few other safety guards are part of that RFP. It builds off the great work of the Systems AI Task Force. I want to thank everyone that participated in that, including Trustee Martin. It proposes, or it suggests, a single system-wide, fully deployed AI tool that would be available to all faculty, staff, and students is the vision. The task force talked a lot about the concern of the haves and have-nots. That is the system that we have now. If you can afford these tools, reach out to Robert and his team and we'll hook you up, excuse me. And if you can't, then it's more of a struggle, or you're using a free plan. And if you hear me ramble about free plans, you know what I think of those. So we're really looking for a system-wide solution. What I'll say as well is that the market has changed substantially since the task force wrapped up its recommendations. So when we put our recommendations together, really the market for large enterprises was, your number of employees times $20 or $30 or whatever the traditional rate was. What we've seen happen since then, certainly into the late fall and building on some conversations that Robert and I have had with other universities recently, is those prices are coming way down. As you would expect, they're lowering those prices down because they want to hook us. And so, you know, we're not looking at something that might have been, you know, $25 a person times 30,000 to get you something way up here. What we're seeing now, and I'm not going to promise this, just from some of our conversations, are, you know, $2, $3, $4 a user, and then maybe there's some token charge or something along. So it's a substantially different market. So what we want to do is we want to test what that market is. We want to see what's available, revisit what we recommended for a fee proposal, and do that within the timeline that I just outlined, so that you can, the trustees, our team, everyone will know kind of what that landscape looks like, how it would impact a student, how it would impact anyone if that's what we do, and then we can have a fully informed conversation about a real number and not, you know, something that's really dated.
So I think that's probably detail-wise, that's as much as I'll go into detail, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Maybe timing?
Oh, yeah, time, sorry. That was right here for me to say. Yeah. So the deadline, we issued the RFP
On February the 25th. The deadline for, we got a lot of questions, over 200 questions came in. The submission deadline is March the 27th, so it'll be just after our FFT, or maybe it is the day of our FFT meeting. We expect presentations to be in early April. We're hoping to do an announcement by June 1 with a July 1 start date is what our plan is.
Great, thank you.
Questions for Ryan? Do you want to? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Trustee Worth.
Camouflaged in with the background over here. Thank you, Ryan. I think you know from my early worries about the request for the AI proposal that the fact that these are coming down to the dollar amounts that you mentioned per person is fantastic news. One request I have for you, or perhaps Jeff St. John, in AI briefings that we do going forward, I think a lot of the AI briefings we receive now are very specific on how AI is operating within the system, how it works for our students, how it works for your workload, how it, you know, makes these really great graphics that we see from you. I think it'd be great for the trustees, because speaking for the board, I don't know if it's true for all of us, I don't think most of us use the highest versions of Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini on a daily basis for our workload. So I'm not sure all of us get to see the incredible advances that have been made as far as what these models can do. So one of the things I think would be great for the board to hear, maybe periodically a couple times per year, is an update on, from your perspective or from Jeff's perspective, the capabilities that these models have when it comes to influencing the careers that our students will have. I won't go into specifics about, you know, what majors I think might be impacted the most. I might be in one of them myself. But I think that's really pertinent info for the board to consider when we talk about expanding programs or tenure or different aspects of the university that we oversee, is to know 10 or 15 years from now what you both, the people who are more expert than us on this, think the chances are of these careers being impacted by the technology that you show us here every day. So that'd be great, just even if it's a couple times per year, just to give us all an update.
Yeah, I haven't been in this role quite yet a year, but one of the things that we've been talking about is, when I get there, which will be in a few months, doing a kind of a state of AI report like we do the IT report, and maybe work with Jeff and weave some of that piece that you and I talked about earlier and that you just talked about as well.
Good.
Yep.
Anything else? Anybody else? Shall we move on to the resolutions, tab 10?
Yes, although I'm going to defer to Tracy.
Okay. Hi, Tracy.
First of three resolutions, tab 10 in your materials, includes a reimbursement resolution for various capital equipment that will be financed over the coming year or so, depending on campus needs. The financings will be with Bank of America using our already negotiated master lease agreement that came out of an RFP process. With the master lease agreement, financings occur periodically throughout the year, which helps us to achieve efficiencies working with the bank. And aggregating our financing needs also allows us to meet the bank's minimum dollar threshold of $200,000 required for each financing.
Importantly, the resolution ensures that expenditures are eligible to be reimbursed with financing that is tax exempt and meets the requirements of Treasury regulations. While this resolution provides financing authority, you should know that equipment projects costing $500,000 or more will still be brought forward for your approval following board policy. In summary, the resolution demonstrates compliance with Treasury regulations for tax-exempt financing. It also allows for aggregate financings of up to $1.5 million and allows the university to reimburse itself for expenditures made up to 60 days prior to today's board approval. And for that, happy to take any questions.
Any questions on the master lease agreement? Seeing none, that the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the FFT Committee and declares official intent for system reimbursement from the proceeds of tax-exempt obligations for certain capital expenditures funded by the system prior to the issuance of such tax-exempt obligations. Could I have a motion? Second. Moved by Trustee Kane, seconded by Trustee Worth. All those in favor? All those opposed? Trustee Alexander?
Yes. Yes.
Passes unanimously. Are you doing tab 11 too?
Yes. So tab 11 includes a refunding resolution for your review and approval. The resolution provides authority for the university to refund, or in essence, refinance certain prior bonds. Specifically, we're looking at the potential for interest savings on our 2012 and 2015 revenue bond series. The refunding would occur as part of our already planned spring issuance of revenue bonds for capital construction projects. At this time, if interest rates are favorable, we will call one or both of those bond series and replace them with newer, lower interest rate bonds. Our underwriter has analyzed the callable bonds this past October and estimated at that time a savings of potentially $700,000. And more recently, it was around $800,000, but with volatility, that changes every day. So we'll do what we can at the time of issuance. The refunding request is for a maximum of $35 million. And importantly, this will not increase our overall debt, but will simply lower our borrowing costs for those bonds that we'll replace. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions on bonding? Seeing none, that the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the FFT Committee and declares official intent for the system to issue revenue bonds in an aggregate amount not to exceed $35 million to refund certain prior revenue bonds. Is the motion? Moved by Trustee Kate, seconded by Trustee Worth. All those in favor? Opposed? Trustee Alexander?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. And tab 12. Are you doing tab 12? Okay.
And this one is for an energy savings performance contract, and it's for the financing project and reimbursement authorization for the University of Maine Escale. And this bank financing will also be with Bank of America using an energy addendum to that master lease contract I mentioned a moment ago. The contract has predetermined terms and conditions which allow us to lock in rates, which UMPI has already done. The target closing is April 7th, and the term is 20 years. The financing total will not exceed $4,070,000. And UMPI's sources of funds for making the debt service payment include energy savings and avoided maintenance over 20 years that is projected to accumulate to about $7 million. And also there's an utility incentive of $40,000 towards that. And that's it. Happy to take any questions. And
Questions?
Bryce is here as well. Yeah.
Okay, the resolution that the tiny short resolution that the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the FFT Committee and approves the financing ESPC project and reimbursement of project expenditure resolutions to authorize the University of Maine system acting through the University of Maine at Presque Isle to fund an ESPC project implementing energy conservation and infrastructure improvements across campus, including lighting, water conservation, building envelope measures, thermal destratification, kitchen ventilation controls, and HVAC controls upgrades with a project total of up to $4,065,000 using financing with a maximum principal amount of debt of $4,070,000. Could I have a motion? Moved by Trustee Worth, seconded by Trustee Kane. All those in favor? All those opposed? Trustee Alexander?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Thanks, Tracy. And let's move on to the Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs.
Thank you, Chair
devil.
Riley.
Okay, yeah.
Trustees, as always, I have to submit the enrollment numbers a couple of weeks ahead of the meeting to meet the board book deadline. And then we run them on the Friday before the meeting to give me a couple of days to prepare a presentation. And then the chancellor scoops me by going to the dashboard the morning of the meeting and announcing an active matriculated number, which is correct and has rendered my number for that data point obsolete. So I will attempt to overcome, Chancellor, that in my presentation very briefly, and I will ask quickly for a brief word from President Hedin. So one trustee, President Hedin, did note the increase in applications from Fort Kent, and I'm wondering if you could say just a quick word about that.
We're excited about it. So, but I think what's most important to look at is actually the matriculated number of students. And when I checked it about a week ago, it was pretty similar to a year ago. So the matriculated piece is what we're looking at the moment, even though the application piece is like 3 times what we typically would see. We are thrilled, but are proceeding very cautiously because we don't know what it means yet, and we will wait until October census to really see if our strategies and the tools we're using have actually amounted to being something that's very real. We don't know if it's real or not yet. So thank you. Keep following us though on Tableau.
Thank you for that. Completed applications are up, and even if you account for the significant growth in Fort Kent applications, they're still up a couple of % across the rest of the system. And as the Chancellor noted, active matriculated students, which is, as a reminder, are students who've said they're coming to one of our universities and have not subsequently said that they're not coming to one of our universities. That is a key metric for us. They are up over 2,800, which is a year-over-year increase in the double digits for us. So we are enthused to see that, and we'll be tracking that
metric in particular very closely, university by university. And I will say that at least as of Friday's data, about half of our universities were up on active matrics year over year, and the other half were a little bit down. But the ones who were down by single digits. I mean, we're right on the line across the board, which is a good place to be, and slightly ahead in some areas, also a good place to be. So we will be monitoring that closely. We'll know an awful lot more at the May meeting about where we really are for summer and fall enrollment. Direct admit students are up very slightly over last year, although I'm pleased to report, thanks to some leadership from the Chancellor and work from a member of my staff and the team that she works with, we continue to grow the number of high schools that we are engaged in with direct admit, including now a number of private high schools in Maine. The Chancellor has been instrumental in helping us to expand the program to private high schools as well. So we believe in the coming years we will see another bump in total direct admit pool and in total direct admit yield as a function of an expansion of the number of high schools who are involved in that program.
3 other points that I really wanted to share with the trustees today. The first is that my office has run a separate report related to but not directly connected to the summer-fall report that they traditionally run, looking at the enrollment behavior of selective colleges in Maine, selective privates and other schools in Maine and throughout New England. They are increasingly drawing top Maine students, both privates in-state and privates out-of-state, who would in previous years more likely than not have enrolled at Orono or USM or one of our other universities. So we are seeing a very directed individually, but it adds up by selective schools in-state and out-of-state, squeeze on the top talent in our in-state Maine pool, even at a time when the total number of high school graduates in Maine continues to decline and be a challenge for us. So we are very aware of that. All the enrollment managers are aware of that, but it will be one of the challenges that we continue to face in
attempting to attract not only healthy and sizable classes for our institutions, but also as we attempt to secure the best and the brightest among universities, among high schools, public and private, in Maine. Second of the 3 points I wanted to make, we have continued to break out your PACE numbers. Trustee Cates had asked for that a while ago, and we've done that again here. But our IR team has continued for historical data reasons to use the Maine Online AP, the former Academic Partnership designator until now. We are retiring that after this meeting and moving to your PACE. I will catch some significant heat for having made that decision earlier today before telling my IR team, but we need to do it because increasingly AP is no longer a recognizable term for anyone. And I also would prefer to stay on Trustee Cates' good side. So we will have your PACE broken out as your PACE in all future reporting. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and I cleared this with the chair before earlier in the day, just a brief update on our 90 credit programs. So 3 of them were approved by the NETCHI Commission in November. We got the letter, the Chancellor got the letter to that effect in December. The remaining 2 were deferred, and we were asked to supply some additional information, which we did in February. Those 2 programs, one at UMPI and one at Machias, are on the Commission's agenda for its April 23-24 meeting. We expect to hear back from Commission staff very shortly after that meeting, and we have a fair to strong degree of confidence in success the second time around in getting those 2 programs approved. I need to note that both at the NETCHI annual meeting in December and at an ACE meeting in Washington, D.C. earlier this spring, the Chancellor was a direct advocate for getting those 2 programs moved forward again and back on the Commission agenda. So he will deserve some credit, along with the 2, the Provost Margison at UMPI and Campus Dean and Director Megan Walsh at Machias for supplying the additional information that was needed to get those programs up and running again. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Vice Chancellor?
Just one thing, thanks, Joe. Direct admissions, we're getting more penetration into high schools in Maine, both public and private. Do we have any general sense of, are we into 30% of Maine's high schools, 10%, 80%? Do you have any feel at all?
I will get you the number. To be candid, we've been tracking a number rather than a percentage, but I'll get you both so you have that. Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I can go right to tenure, Jeff.
Thank you. Trustees, we had 33 cases come forward in this year's cycle, representing all of the universities and every campus except for Machias. Everyone else had someone coming forward this year. We had 33 strong and impressive cases. There was a thorough review and discussion at ASA. I'm pleased to, on behalf of the presidents and the chancellor, to recommend unreservedly the slate of tenure candidates for the spring of 2026.
Great. And I don't think any of our current members, or last year I think we had a tenure faculty rep, but in this round, I don't think we do this round. But an amazing group of people, and it certainly reflects the extraordinary talent that we are lucky enough to secure and retain in our universities. And we will identify them in our minutes and thank them now en masse for their hard work, and with this resolution that the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation for tenure submitted by the universities of the University of Maine system. Approvals will take effect September 1, 2026 for faculty with academic year appointments, and on July 1, 2026 for faculty with fiscal year appointments. Can I have a motion? Trustee Johnson? It's the Fenimore, it's the email that gets me messed up. Trustee Fenimore Johnson, seconded by Trustee Martin. All those in favor? All those opposed? Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Thank you, and congratulations to everyone. Let's move to tab 15. Jeff, is there anything else?
I'll be...
College of Nursing, yep.
Yeah.
President Edmondson.
Thank you. And so you have before you a proposal for the University of Southern Maine to create a College of Nursing and Health Sciences. The work on this proposal began a few years ago, and I want to start by thanking Lois Skillings, who is one of the graduates of the University of Southern Maine and a well-respected nursing practitioner in the state, and she helped to guide us through this process. We also had support from one of the donors to the university, John Goldsworth, who paid for the external visioning work that went into this. So in December of 2024, we convened a committee that included faculty, administration, and partners from the university, or from Maine Health, from Mercy Hospital, and from Maine General, to make recommendations for the university so that we can ensure that our nursing program is the strongest it can possibly be to serve the needs of the state of Maine. And so over the course of the year, one of the recommendations was that the university should have a College of Nursing and Health Professions in order to have, and to have a dean that leads that college. The reason to have a dean is for leadership within the state, but also at national conferences and at a national level, so that we can be sure that what we're doing is at the cutting edge of the work in nursing and health professions. And the second reason was really to help bolster the research that's happening would be happening in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, Health Professions. We have a health sciences degree. And so that proposal is in front of you now, and I'm glad to answer questions if there are any.
Mm-hmm. And budget neutral?
It'll be about $10,000 more to go from an associate dean to a dean. We will be eliminating the associate dean position. We have a number of directors and coordinators within the school as well as program chairs. And so we're being very attentive to the requirements for accreditation. We want to hire a dean, have that person get started, and then we'll look at the overall structure of the college to make decisions from there.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, that the Board of Trustees approves the formation of the College of Nursing and Health Professions at the University of Southern Maine to strengthen the university's capacity to educate and prepare healthcare professionals, support interdisciplinary learning, expand research and partnership opportunities, and advance the University of Maine systems efforts to address Maine's critical and growing healthcare workforce needs. Could I have a motion? Trustee Martin, seconded by Trustee Worth. All those in favor? All those opposed? Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. We do have at least one announcement. There may be others who have business as well, but I turn to Dean President Zoffley.
Thank you very much. I am a member of the Mitchell Naming Review Task Force, and on behalf of that task force, I am announcing that public comment will be received by the task force through 5 p.m. on Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. To provide comment, members of the public can go to umaine.edu/president and right under the drop-down messages, give us your comment. I'm gonna read that again. It is umaine.edu/president under messages, and any comments must be received by Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions, concerns, ideas? I suspect everybody would like a motion to adjourn, and so we shall. Thank you for a very good meeting. Thank you all.